Gambia's Vice President and Chairperson of the COVID-19 subcommittee predicts the need for more funding for COVID-19. The impact of COVID-19 is stalling implementation of infrastructural projects in Uganda. And Senegal has begun the production of herbal medicine to reinforce ongoing treatment of COVID-19 cases. This and more coming on The World Today. Hello, this is Africa TV and you're watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Now, the chairperson of the Cabinet COVID-19 subcommittee has said that the search for the longer-term solution for food insecurity needs predictable increase in funding to develop sustainable food systems. Speaking during a press conference on the government food aid distribution on Wednesday, Dr. Isatou Touré said if the current situation, if left unchecked, it could further deepen the existing poverty. The Vice President noted that the food distribution exercise in different parts of the country is on the final touches.
In times of uncertainties and emergencies, welfare states provide social assistance to its people through various means. The bailout strategies, although temporary in most cases, introduced to tackle the most pressing needs of the population. The Gambia government and partners in this regard have seen the COVID social response as a national priority at this material time when there is a global economic crisis threatening the livelihoods of the global population. This current situation, if left unchecked, could further deepen the already poverty and food insecurity situation of the country. To find closer-term solutions to our food insecurity, we need predictable increases in funding to develop sustainable food systems that can withstand shocks such as an economic crisis or disease pandemics that cause economic paralysis. The government of the Gambia is therefore determined to ensure a coordinated approach to food security issues, in particular at all levels.
More than $700 million worth of food aid was launched by the Gambia government to respond to the hunger crisis predicted due to the COVID-19 outbreak. And we will bring you more details of the Vice President's reaction from today's press conference in our subsequent news bulletins. From that, next we head to Egypt, where Egypt's advertising industry has been largely affected due to the impact of the COVID-19 global pandemic, resulting to the loss of significant revenue for the sector. Last year, the industry recorded over $300 million, but the industry has been significantly declined in business in this year, thanks to the global crisis. With many affected businesses struggling to survive, the Federation of the Industry is engaging government to waive licensing fees in a bid to help them recover. Here's more details of that in this report.
In recent years, outdoors marketing has been a booming industry, with revenues in 2019 exceeding $300 million. This year, however, the COVID-19 pandemic has taken away the vibrant colors these billboards gave to Cairo's landscape.
The streets of the Egyptian capital spells it out to any observer that there is a crisis in outdoors advertising. It's the biggest market in the Middle East, but after years of solid growth, it's been seeing the worst hit in recent months.
The year didn't start well, and the COVID-19 crisis added momentum to this decline. Actually, April, the vacancy reached 52%, bearing in mind that 47% occupancy isn't 100% campaigns. So actually the occupancy can be reflected into 27% in general in April. And in May it declined to 45%, which represents like 25% of real money.
And for an industry with high running costs and little revenues, many companies are near bankruptcy.
In our case, I think we might be able to survive for another 2 months. Other businesses actually didn't survive now, and it might be their last month to be able to pay their employees any salaries. In Ramadan, TV was really hit hard.
With a 30% decline in TV revenues and more than 50% for out-of-home, Egypt's $500 million advertising industry is collapsing, dragging with it many supporting service providers.
The most affected stakeholders are the day-to-day employees. And these are the guys that usually they install the messages on the billboards. These are the most affected stakeholder in the out-of-home business, because if you don't have a message to install, then they don't get paid. And the other stakeholders are the print houses, the agencies, the suppliers or the billboard owners.
The Federation of Egyptian Industries is in negotiations with the government to waive licensing fees, which is almost 50% of the billboard's running cost. This step could make stakeholders breathe a bit under the pandemic and sustain through the crisis a little longer.
From the report there in Cairo, Egypt, we come back home and report on justice matters, because the International Court of Justice has extended time for the filing of the memorial of the Gambia and the counter memorial of Myanmar in the case concerning the application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. In a letter dated 24th April, the Gambia requested the court to grant at least a 3-month extension for the filing of the memorial in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Gambia noted that the principle of equality of the arms would entitle Myanmar to a similar extension of time for filing its counter memorial. Our Ibrahim Abba was earlier today on phone with the Gambia's Minister of Justice, Abubakar Tambedu, for a brief explanation.
Well, I mean, it's straightforward. We were supposed to file our memorial in July, but because of the COVID situation, we can't move. Our lawyers cannot move, and we have not been able to consult sufficiently, and it's causing other complications for us. So we reached out to the court for the court to give us an extra 3 months for us to file our memorial, and the court has done so. They've given us until October now to file our memorial, and they also gave Myanmar an additional 3 months as well to file their counter memorial.
ICJ unanimously ruled in favor of the Gambia and ordered Myanmar to take all measures within its powers to protect the Rohingya minority population from genocide. And from that report there, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV, and now to the rest of the stories. Next to Uganda, where China is playing an integral part in the implementation of major infrastructural projects in the country, where development is being affected due to the coronavirus global pandemic. With most of the materials coming from outside the country, contractors are considering a delay in completion of projects as the government is focused in the fight against COVID-19. Here's more details of that.
Uganda is upgrading its road infrastructure, and China is playing a key role in the development. But the COVID-19 pandemic is slowing down the process. Key supplies needed to run the projects are not coming in as required.
Oil is coming from Kenya. If Kenya has slowed down, so that means now the fuel is not coming on time. Also, is a second challenge. The third challenge is like Hima Cement, one of my major partner in cement sector, because for them, President directive that all the company, if you want to continue work, you have to campaign the worker. So that's why also the production has been slowed down.
Road contractors are also concerned about the weakening local currency.
We lost some money during this COVID-19. The first loss comes from the exchange rate, because now the exchange rate has depreciated during this lockdown.
Machinery from China is often exported to African countries. But the recent port and border closures stemming from the coronavirus measures are limiting access. This 2-kilometer road was due to be completed within 3 years. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, contractors are planning to postpone the completion of the project. Like other countries, Uganda is concentrating its resources towards efforts to combat COVID-19. This means several infrastructure projects are running low on money.
The other challenge they're facing is the issue of financing. Of course, they have to. Most of them have the Chinese banks to be the one to give them the financing. So they can't do the back and forth to go and do their documentation. So that has also slowed them down.
However, the Uganda government is hopeful that the infrastructure development projects will soon pick up pace as major economies, including China, begin to ease their lockdowns.
And from the report there, finally, we end this news bulletin with development of COVID-19 medicine in Senegal as the world intensified efforts in the search for vaccine for the COVID-19 pandemic. Senegal is not left behind in the process for a lasting solution. The West African countries producing herbal tea from the artemisia leaves as treatment for the coronavirus. The factory, located some 50 kilometers from the capital city, Dakar, began the production of large quantity of the tea as the demand from the public increases. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Senegal has joined the race against time to find the ideal remedy to treat the COVID-19. It's producing a herbal tea made from the artemisia plant. The artemisia leaves are first dried before being transported to a processing plant about 50 kilometers from Dakar. Women at the factory sift through the leaves, which are later put into capsules or tea.
In the early days of coronavirus, we saw our production as well as our sales increase because there are many people who are already familiar with this plant and its effect on strengthening the immune system. We went from an average production of 3,000 to 4,000 packs per month to 2,000 packs per day. We can say that the demand is still there and that today the scientific world is very interested in artemisia.
Passer de 20 paquets à 300 paquets par semaine. Et puis, dès que le président...
Sales have really gone up. Initially, we went from 20 packages to 300 packages per week. Then we went from 300 packages per week to 300 packages per day. I had one client who complained at the beginning of fever, itchy throat, and so on, and she was very upset. But after taking the Artemisia capsules, within 24 hours, the symptoms had completely disappeared.
Le stock se vide, c'est incroyable, assez incroyable.
According to some scientists, Artemisia is a plant that eradicates 98% of malaria, bilharzia, and certain skin diseases. However, clinical trials are yet to be conducted to evaluate its effectiveness and determine its effects on the human body in relation to the coronavirus.
Un comité scientifique a été monté.
Here in Senegal, a scientific committee has been set up and has already presented a research protocol for the validation of this plant. Protocol has been submitted to the Ministry of Health, and we're just waiting for the authorization of the Ethics Committee for its validation. Then we will be able to start the tests first in the laboratory and continue with clinical trials on patients on the basis of informed consent.
The WHO has warned that there is no proof that medicine derived from the plant can cure COVID-19. As people await the official decision on whether to continue clinical trials of Artemisia, they continue to obtain the capsules and tea products as a preventive measure.
Senegal joins the world in search for the COVID-19 treatment. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you in this news bulletin. And for more details on those stories and others, you can also look on our website on africa.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.
kaas paw bi jeex na depuis démba xettali ma rek ni jaay nga jëndal ma kaas paw balaa yére yi di wow dama passé
fii amoo fi benn xaalis laa amut waaw may ma tuuti waaw Mamadou waaw ma ne dimbale ñu rek nga yónni ñu kaas paw